This is episode 429, and I'm very glad I found this video. I didn't know that this video was out, but super glad I found it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Since he was on Rogan, the Rogan effect has been taking place, which means people have been looking at him more, wanting to hear more about him, wanting to hear more of him speaking on different topics other than, the medical stuff, the jabs that he's been so vocal about. And because Rogan had him on, another news organization had him on and had a bit of a town hall, the same way CNN did for Trump. Another organization did the same thing for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It's an hour and a half long. I really do suggest that you check it out. I'm even going to put the link to it. I think I'm going to put the link to it in the description. I'm not sure if I'm allowed, but I'm going to see if I can. And I'm going to bring you two clips from it right now. These two clips are basically, he's speaking very presidentially, if I could use that word properly. He's carrying himself very much like someone who you would want to see president carry themselves. There's no taking jabs at people. There's no insulting people. There's no attacking the media. Nothing. It's just him talking about the topics. And on top of that, this is not just like a praise RFK Jr. type of event. The interviewer, super respectful, but also pushing back a lot throughout the whole thing. When they get into they talk about the jabs, they talk about the pandemic, they talk about all that medical stuff, and she's pushing back because she doesn't agree with him, but she's allowing him to speak at length. It's really, really interesting. They actually have people ask questions throughout it. It's a great talk. It's a great talk. Let's get into the store, though. I got a new Sold Not For Sale shirt. For America. For America. Let me put on my Hodge twin voice. Yeah, this is for America. This is the Sold Not For Sale, the America's Sold Not For Sale collection. I got the t-shirts. I got the women's t-shirts as well, the women's tank tops and the men's tank tops. And of course, for all you guys who are like me and want to just wear a hoodie all year long, I got the hoodie as well. Let's go in there. Can I zoom in on this at all? No, I can't zoom in on it. But it got the hoodie there. The t-shirt right here for the ladies. Let's show the ladies again real quick. Ladies tank top, racer back, as my wife likes to call it. I know nothing about women's clothing, but we got the Sold Not For Sale going just in time. Because, June might be Pride Month, but July is Pride of Your Country Month. So everybody can put those rainbow flags away and start pulling out American flags. And those of you in Canada, pull out those Canadian flags. No need to not feel proud of where you're from just because the government is doing a bunch of nonsense. That goes for America too. There's a lot of people out there, or not a lot of people in office who are doing things that aren't a reflection of what the people want. And just because they're doing that doesn't mean that you shouldn't show any type of pride. The discount code at the website is I am Coach Colin. The website, if you're not familiar with the website, it's iamcoachcolin.com. Discount code I am Coach Colin, all one word, all capital letters, one L on the Colin. That'll get you 10% off. Now let's get into the clip. Also, if you've gotten anything from the website, I always have to do this. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much it means to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's get into this actual clip. I really like what's going on here. Let's play this. I made myself a little smaller because I wanted you to be able to see the text. I know you can probably understand what RFK Jr. is saying, but I just wanted to make sure if you can't, you can see the caption right there. Let's get into it.
A lot of people, every Democrat says, I want to end the polarization. But how do you do that without talking to people who don't agree with you? How do you do that without appealing to people? My purpose is to find the issues, the values that we have in common, rather than, focus on the issues and the personalities that keep us all apart.
As a lifelong Democrat, as you just said very passionately, will you pledge to support whoever the Democratic nominee is, whoever it is, whether it's you, whether it's President Biden?
Oh, of course I'm not going to do that. I'm not
not going to do that.
No, of course I'm not.
So
Listen,
if you don't get the nomination, you won't support President Biden?
I don't know what I'll do. Let's see let's see what happens in this campaign. Let's see, if people are living up to democratic values and having debates and having discussions and, talking to each other, but I'm not going to buy.
And if you feel that's not happening, would you then support a Republican or run as an independent?
You know what? My plan is to win this election, and I don't have a plan B.
Okay. We are in Chicago, which will be the...
Okay, so I'm just going to go over to the next clip. And this clip is actually, usually I like to work through a video like this chronologically. But in this case, honestly, I want to go right to some of the last things that he says, because this is this type of stuff that America needs to hear. It's the type of stuff that you need to hear from a leader. And it's just really inspiring to me. So I'm just going to go over here to the last question that was asked. And it's about bringing the country together, because there's not enough talk about that. Biden is still on Twitter calling people MAGA Republicans, like some kind of robot. Trump hasn't even been attacking as much as usual, because I think he's coming to his senses on that. And it's just, you can't have this battle the whole time, this immature battle, these name callings, all this stuff. You can't have all that. At some point, someone needs to have the conversation of, how are you going to unite everybody? Because that's the thing that the people need. Politicians don't need it. Politicians don't need people to come together. They work much more effectively. They can do what they do behind the scenes much more effectively when we're not unified. But Robert F. Kennedy sees it a different way, and I'm really, really happy about that. And just to comment on that clip just now, of course he's not going to support Joe Biden if Joe Biden ends up beating him. I just don't see that happening. I see him not attacking Joe Biden because he doesn't seem like that kind of guy, but I don't see him going all out and supporting Joe Biden just because Joe Biden is, just because they did whatever they do to get ahead in the polls. All on the up and up, of course. I'm not suggesting anything. Let's get to the next clip before I say something I shouldn't say. All right, let's go.
After a career with a Fortune 500 company, he's here in Chicago. Hi, Dennis.
Thank you. I'd first like to compliment you and applaud you for your courage of your beliefs. I really find it very admirable, so thank you. My question is, given the polarized state of political beliefs across the United States, what are 3 things you will do in the first 100 days of your administration to unite this country?
There's a lot of things I'm going to do during the first 3 months, but the major thing that I'm going to do is just be rigorous about telling the truth to the American people about everything, and having the agencies tell the truth to the American people, because the division in this country, I believe the real key to the division is that we're being lied to. When I was a kid, everybody trusted the government. Why? Because the government was telling us the truth. And in fact, the first time that we ever caught the government in a lie was in 1960 when the U-2 went down in Russia, and the CIA's U-2 went down. And Allen Dulles persuaded Eisenhower to lie about it. And he did, because they didn't know that the Russians, that Gary Francis Power, the pilot, had not used his suicide device, and that the Russians had captured him. So they were holding him, waiting for us to lie, and then they produced him. And when that happened, the American people said, oh my God, the government lied to us. Americans couldn't believe that happened. And now the government lies to everybody. Expects the government to lie. 20% of 80% of Americans believe their government then. Today, less than 20% do. And 20% believe the press because the press lies too. The only way we're going to start healing this country is if the government starts telling the truth. And that is the most important thing. I'm not going to agree with all of you. I'm going to differ with you on many, many policies. All I can tell you is I am the one president who's going to get up there, and I promise you the government is going to tell the truth to you. And I'm going to do that through national security orders. I'm going to do it through executive orders. I'm going to do it through example. And I'm going to, I'm going to make these agencies start telling the truth about everything. And again, you may not agree with me on some of my policies, but, our country is going to start healing when the government starts telling it the truth.
twice. You did it twice. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you all to our audience. We're thrilled that all of our audience...
And illegally and unnecessary.
Man, I really like him talking about that, the agencies, because how conspiratorial do you sound when you bring it up amongst friends and family? And I just love that there is a presidential candidate who's saying, no, they lie. They're constantly lying, of course. You know, it helps. It helps a lot at the dinner table at Thanksgiving. You know, it's like, Robert F. Kennedy said. Now, if we can just get the stigma off of him, we'll be making some traction. But what he said about the country needing to heal, truth is the only thing that's going to heal it. I really do agree with him there. There's nothing else that will bring people together other than, everybody knowing what the actual truth is. Because right now, on the left, there is their truth. And on the right, there is their truth. I was actually going to say common sense on the right. But I won't do that. Both sides have their own brand of truth. And if we could have a president who is forcing agencies, because that's a big statement to make, especially before you become president, especially if you feel that the CIA had something to do with your uncle and your father's death. For you to come out and say that you're going to force these agencies to do this, that's very, very commendable, very brave, I would say. If he could do that, I think the healing of America will bring about. And I know America's already been the greatest superpower, but I think it'll just bring a new golden age to the type of superpower that it could be, because the superpower that we know America as has been spreading liberty throughout the land, and it's destruction wherever it goes, and people are upset and it forms terrorists and all sorts of stuff. The type of superpower that I think Robert F. Kennedy could bring America into is that country that goes around and builds roads instead of brings armies, that helps other countries form their governments, their democracies, instead of like forcing that freedom and liberty down their throat in the form of like missiles and troops being around all of the, like, in their country for years at a time. Instead of that, like actual like, I want to say like Good Samaritan type of behavior, going places and actually helping. I feel like that's what he would usher in. But again, it has to start with the American people getting their truth, getting their what they deserve. I don't want to just put it into money terms, but you got to take care of America first. All of this taking care of Ukraine, taking care of this place and that place. It's like, what about America? What about the messed up? There's like Chicago. They call it Chirac. It's not a cute nickname. It's because so many people get murdered there with crazy weapons. And it's not just because of like, oh, you need to take away all the guns. It's not that. It's the community is fucked. It's a terrible community. It needs healing. It needs help. And I hope a guy like this actually steps in. Again, this is an hour and a half long. It's great. I really suggest that you listen to it. I always go, a little tinfoil hatty when I see things like this. I'm like, these questions are prepared and this and that. But you really have to look at the way that he handles the questions. Forget about the people who's asking it. You look at the way he handles the questions. And this is the reason why I think this is a little different. It's not just that I like RFK, because I love Trump too. And Trump's didn't seem all that prepared when he did it with CNN. It seemed like an ambush almost that he was just super prepared for. But I think Robert F. Kennedy's is a little different because there are people giving him huge pushback. There was one person who was a part of the LGBT community, and they gave him heavy pushback. Like, they almost got into an argument, but Robert F. Kennedy was able to kind of diffuse the situation. There's another person who's asking about drug addiction, and Robert F. Kennedy had to get into his drug addiction and speak about that. He was very candid about it, and even talked about legalizing psychedelics. Just saying. And then there was another person when it came to the whole when it came to the whole vaccine debate that was pushing really hard on him as well. This person was very pro, and he was viewing RFK Jr. is very anti, and they had a whole back and forth there. So these weren't questions that were just like really easy for him. He was really getting held over the coals by some of these people. Some of these people did not seem like supporters, in my opinion. So definitely check it out. It's worth it. I'm telling you. It's by News Nation. News Nation. If you check them out, you can find them on Twitter. You can find them on, I assume you can find them on YouTube. You can find them on Instagram. They did a great job. That interviewer did a great job as well, talking about pushback again. She was super respectful, but would always come with the follow-ups. Always come with the follow-ups. Nothing was light. She kept it the way that an interviewer should keep it. Civil, respectful, and a little bit light, but still the tension. Like, I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend. We're here. We're doing this, but I'm not your buddy right now. And she was really giving it to him at certain points. So like the video. It helps so much. Hit that like button. You know where it is. Hit that like button. Hit up that store, IamCoachColin.com. It helps us more than you can even know. And other than that, I'm out. Episode 429.